We're on to the motion now of getting the Raspberry Pi fired up, and I want to do this step for my own benefit anyway. There are YouTube videos that you could cobble together, but I think if we're following through on the Can Crusher, you might as well do the full works. So the tools that we'll need initially, most of these are going to be to get started up with, and you won't need some of them there afterwards, but they're going to be quite a good resource to keep in the future, purely on the basis that if you start playing around with the Raspberry Pi, I can assure you, you will be starting to use these again more and more often. So if I just go through what we've got here, so we'll go from left to right. So got the USB power supply. If I turn that round, that goes into there. I've got a USB keyboard. That'll be just for doing the text entering. It's a bit of a change from probably what a lot of people are used to, using keyboard, mouse, a graphical interface, or GUI as it's like to be called, for Windows, etc, etc. So this is very much text level, but it's not all that difficult. It's fine. We've got the Sainsmart 8 relay module. So that's obviously, as I've done on my previous video, what I'm going to control. This is an SD card reader to allow me to put the image from the SD card onto the image onto the Raspberry Pi via the SD card. Made a mess of that. This is a USB Edimax Wi-Fi module, nice little thing that will allow you to not have cables dangling all over the place, which is great. We've got the HDMI connector. Initially I'll be using that. It's purely on boot up to allow you to get the Raspberry Pi into a state where everything's all working. And I am going to cheat a little when I'm going to do that, because I've just tried recording on my TV and it's just rubbish. But that's by the by. But we'll go through the steps of what I'm going to do. So the other thing I've got is a USB powered adapter. Again, that's only used to kind of get all this up and running, but needless to say, it'll work. It'll be absolutely fine. So what we'll do, pull these to one side, don't need that, or the SD card, or the USB. Three components to start with is, sorry, I didn't mention these. These are female to female jumper cables. So what we'll do is, with these, you've got a various array, so there's 10 in total. Now the two that I'm going to be interested in initially are my white and black, and the reason being is on the Sainsmart, I'll have a picture of this up on the video, is you've got ground on the left and VCC here on the right. Now all the other ones are in between, numbered 1 through to 8, when that reflects which relay that we're going to want to trigger. So with that, what we'll do is basically we're going to put the jumpers on this way. So let's flip this over. It doesn't matter which way these silver bits go, because they're just the connectors. So let me just get that into picture better. So just nicely and firmly press each individual one down. What you've got to be mindful of is these pins can be bent easily. You can bend them back, but if you try and avoid them bending in the first place, you're already winning half the battle. So there we go. Nicely firmly pressed, all nice and level, and there you go. Let's get so that's that part done. Now the other part is to connect it to the Raspberry Pi. Now there's multiple variants of the Raspberry Pi out. Again, I'm using the Model A, one of the first ones out. There is a Model B, and if I remember right, the Model B came with 40 of these. Might be wrong with that. but if not, this is the 26 GPIO pin variant. So, and what we want to do is for each one of these, there'll be where we're on. Let's get these out. There'll be a ground and a voltage, and there'll be a 5-volt voltage that we want to get. So, with this particular board, the 5-volt is the upper right-hand pin, and if you want to have it orientated this way, so the HDMI cable slot is on the left-hand side, we're not going to go wrong. So what we'll do is we'll take that and put that on that one there, and then the ground on the third one down, and that's where your ground is. So that's that. So now we know that we've got power to this board at least. If we was to switch this on, that's what would happen. It would have power. But nothing's going to happen until we give some GPIO juice. So what we're going to do is, as we can see here, brown is the first relay. So by default, what I would do is I would start off with this way. So the way I have easily remembered this is you miss one initially. So we miss the first pin on the top left, and then push this into the second pin down like so. We take our next one, which is the red, and we go to the next pin down after that. As you can see, it's a bit fiddly, but you can get by. There we go. Next one down is going to be orange. And then what you want to do is miss a pin. So again, the next pin down I believe is ground, so we want to miss that one. Another pin down on there. And another one. Then what we want to do is we want to miss another pin. And finally, last pin. So again, if we go through the elements of missing pins, so I've missed the first top left one, put 3 GPIOs in, missed a pin, another 3PIO, C3PO, Star Wars. Yeah, another 3 pins, sorry, GPIOs, miss a pin, and the final 2. So that now gives me all 8 connections for all 8 relays all connected. So that is it for connecting more the hardware. The next step is to connect up and boot up your Raspberry Pi initially. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and show you on how to get your image through from the Raspberry Pi website. It's not all that difficult. I am going to use the variant of Ubuntu to do this. Windows is going to be different. I can't explain on that. There is a community that will help you guide you through, but essentially all I want to do is get some files onto this SD card. So what we'll do is we'll get that up and running. So once that's on, so we'll assume that we've got the image on the SD card. What we want to then do is pop your SD card in, connect up your HDMI cable, we'll connect up, this is going to be a bit fun. Oh, you can see that I've done a bit of a boo-boo there, haven't I? Whoops. Right, let's try this again. Pop that round that way. SD card reader in there. SD card reader, sorry, USB adapter elements. So now what I want to do is I want to plumb in my Edimax connector. I'll take my USB keyboard, and then what we want to do is apply power. And you can see we've got some LEDs on there, and the Raspberry Pi is booting up. What I'm going to do now is just show you the initial commands that I'll run through when I'm first starting up the Raspberry Pi, and then that way everything should work for us. Okay, back in a sec.